Captain Lee Hyun stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, staring at the holographic display that showed red dots moving across the star map. Each red dot was an enemy ship. There were more than 300 of them, all heading toward Kepler colony. The communication screen flickered to life and Admiral Park Min-ho appeared. His face looked tired and worried. Lines of stress marked his features, making him look older than his 50 years. "Lee, I have bad news," the Admiral said without greeting. "The Vortanian Empire has sent their entire Third Fleet toward Kepler colony. Our intelligence says they want to destroy the colony completely. They want to send a message to all human colonies." Lee felt his stomach drop. The Vortanian Empire had been conquering human colonies for 10 years. They were a group of alien races that worked together to take over other worlds. Wherever they went, they left death and destruction behind. "How many ships do they have?" Lee asked, though he already knew the answer would be terrible. 320 ships. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, and fighter carriers. They have enough firepower to glass an entire planet. Admiral Park rubbed his forehead. "Lee, Kepler colony has 2 million people. Men, women, children, families who went there to build new lives." Lee looked around his bridge. His crew was listening to every word. They all knew what this meant. The Indomitable was just one ship. One ship against more than 300 enemy vessels. Commander Kim Yuna stepped forward. She was his tactical officer and one of the smartest people he had ever met. She had graduated first in her class from the Luna Naval Academy. She could calculate battle plans faster than most computers. "Sir, what are our orders?" Kim asked. Her voice was steady, but Lee could see the concern in her eyes. Admiral Park looked directly at Lee through the screen. "You are the closest ship to Kepler colony. The rest of our fleet is scattered across 12 different star systems. It will take at least 5 days for any other ships to reach you." 5 days, Lee repeated. "The Vortanians will reach Kepler colony in 2 days." "That is correct." The Admiral paused. "Lee, I am not ordering you to do this. The Indomitable is one ship. You cannot win against their entire fleet. But those people on Kepler colony have no other hope." Lee understood. This was not really an order. It was a choice. He could take his ship and crew away from the battle. They could live to fight another day. Or they could stay and try to protect 2 million innocent people. He looked at his crew again. Lieutenant Commander Choi Dae-ho was standing near the engineering station. Choi was the best engineer in the human fleet. He could make the Indomitable do things that should be impossible. The ship's engines ran smoother and faster because of his work. Dr. Hans Sora was at her science station, already pulling up data about Vortanian ships. She had spent years studying alien technology. She knew more about enemy weapons and shields than anyone else in the fleet. Her research had helped humanity win several important battles. "Admiral," Lee said, "we need to know everything about what is on Kepler colony. Why are the Vortanians sending such a large fleet to attack it?" Admiral Park hesitated. Then he spoke in a lower voice. "There is a secret research facility on Kepler colony. Our best scientists have been working on a new type of engine there, a quantum jump drive that could change everything. If we can perfect this technology, our ships could travel across the galaxy in minutes instead of months." "The Vortanians know about this research?" Kim asked. "We believe so. That is why they are sending so many ships. They want to destroy the research and kill everyone who knows about it." Lee felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. It was not just about saving 2 million people anymore. It was about saving technology that could help humanity win the war against the Vortanian Empire. "How long do the scientists need to finish their work?" Lee asked. "At least 3 days. Maybe 4. Admiral Park shook his head. "But Lee, even if you could hold off the Vortanian fleet for that long, how would you get the research data away from the colony?" Choi stepped forward. "Sir, I have been working on upgrades to our communication systems. We could transmit the research data directly to Earth Command. It would take several hours to send everything, but it is possible." Dr. Han looked up from her station. "Captain, I have been studying the Vortanian fleet composition. They have mostly older ships. Their newest battleships are still using technology that is 5 years old. The Indomitable has newer weapons and shields. 1 ship against 300, Kim said quietly. The odds are not good. Lee walked to the center of the bridge. He looked at each member of his crew. These people had served with him for 3 years. They had fought together, bled together, and trusted each other with their lives. "I will not lie to you," Lee said to his crew. "This mission will probably be our last. The Vortanians have too many ships. We cannot win a direct fight against them." The bridge was quiet. Everyone was thinking about families back home, about dreams they might never achieve, about lives they might never live. "But," Lee continued, "those people on Kepler Colony are counting on us, and the research they are doing could save humanity. We are the only ship that can get there in time." He paused and looked at each face again. "I am not ordering anyone to stay. If you want to leave, you can take a shuttle to the nearest station. I will not think less of anyone who chooses to live." Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Finally, Kim stepped forward. "Captain, the Indomitable is our ship. These people are our family. We stay together." One by one, the other crew members nodded. Choi, Han, and all the others. 800 people who had decided to risk everything for strangers they had never met. Lee felt pride swell in his chest. This was why humanity would never be defeated. Not by the Vortanians, not by anyone. When people needed help, humans would always step forward, no matter the cost. "Admiral Park," Lee said, turning back to the communication screen. "Tell Kepler Colony that help is coming. Tell them to prepare for evacuation, but also tell them to keep working on their research. We will buy them as much time as we can." The Admiral nodded. "Good luck, Lee. Make them remember that they picked a fight with the wrong species." The screen went dark. Lee looked at the star map again. The red dots were still moving toward Kepler Colony. In 2 days they would arrive and begin their attack. Kim, plot a course for Kepler Colony. Maximum speed. "Course plotted, sir." "Choi, I want every weapon and shield system checked and ready. If we are going to do this, we need to be perfect." "Yes, sir. The Indomitable will be ready." "Han, I want you to study everything we know about Vortanian tactics. Find their weaknesses." "Already on it, Captain." Lee sat down in his captain's chair and took a deep breath. In 2 days, his ship would face the largest alien fleet ever assembled. The odds were impossible. The enemy was too strong. But Lee smiled as he watched his crew work. The aliens had made one big mistake. They thought that overwhelming numbers would be enough to defeat humans. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 2 days later, the Indomitable dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system. What Captain Lee Hyun saw on his screens made his blood run cold. The planet Kepler Colony was surrounded by fire. Huge alien ships were firing massive energy beams down at the surface. Explosions lit up the planet like deadly fireworks. The colony's defense platforms were fighting back, but they were losing badly. "Captain, I count 47 Vortanian ships in orbit around the planet," Commander Kim Yuna reported from her tactical station. "These are just the advanced scouts. The main fleet is still 3 hours away." Lee gripped his chair. Even the advance force had more ships than he could handle. But he could see civilian transport ships trying to escape from the planet. Most of them were not going to make it. "Sir, incoming message from Kepler Colony," the communications officer said. A man appeared. On the screen, his face was covered with dirt and his uniform was torn. Behind him, Lee could see smoke and sparks from damaged equipment. "This is Governor Pak Jinho of Kepler Colony," the man said. His voice was shaking but determined. "Captain, thank God, you came. We have been under attack for 6 hours. Our defense platforms cannot hold much longer." "Governor, what is the status of the evacuation?" Lee asked. "We have gotten 400,000 people off the planet so far, but we still have more than 1.5 million people here. The transport ships cannot get through the enemy blockade." Lee looked at his tactical display. The Vortanian ships were positioned perfectly to stop any ship trying to leave the planet. They had created a ring of death around Kepler Colony. "Governor, what about the research facility?" Lee asked. Pack looked around nervously. "The quantum drive research is still ongoing. Dr. Yang Mira says she needs at least 12 more hours to complete the final calculations. After that, we can transmit all the data to Earth." 12 hours. Lee had to keep the Vortanian fleet busy for 12 hours while protecting civilian evacuation ships. It seemed impossible. "Kim, analyze the enemy formation," Lee ordered. "Find me a weakness." Kim worked quickly at her station. Her fingers moved across the controls like a pianist playing a complex song. "Captain, the Vortanian ships are spread out to cover all escape routes from the planet, but they have left the asteroid field on the far side of the system unguarded." Iwi-san looked at the display. There was indeed a large asteroid field about 2 million kilometers from the planet. The space rocks were big enough to hide a ship, but small enough to move between. "Choi, can the Indomitable handle flying through that asteroid field at high speed?" Lee asked his chief engineer. Lieutenant Commander Choi Daeho smiled. "Sir, I have been making improvements to our maneuvering thrusters for months. We can dance between those asteroids like a fighter ship." "Good." "Han, what do you know about Vortanian communication systems?" Dr. Han Sora looked up from her science station. "Their ships communicate using a specific frequency band. If we could jam those frequencies, they would have trouble coordinating their attacks." Lee felt a plan forming in his mind. It was dangerous and required perfect timing, but it might work. "Here is what we are going to do," Lee announced to his crew. "We are going to use the asteroids as cover and hit the Vortanian ships one at a time. We cannot fight them all at once, but we can pick them off in small groups." "Captain, that is very risky," Kim said. "If they surround us in the asteroid field, we will have no escape route." "Then we make sure they do not surround us," Lee replied. "Han, I want you to jam their communications every time we attack. Make it so they cannot call for help." "I can do that, sir." "Choi, push our engines beyond normal limits. We need to be faster than anything they have ever seen." "The engines can handle it, Captain. I guarantee it." Lee turned to the communications officer. "Send a message to all civilian transport ships. Tell them to wait for our signal. When we start our attack, they should make their escape runs." The Indomitable began moving toward the asteroid field. The ship's advanced sensors mapped a path through the floating rocks. Choi had been right. The improved thrusters made the big battleship move like a much smaller vessel. "Entering the asteroid field now," the helmsman reported. Lee watched as huge rocks drifted past the bridge windows. Some of the asteroids were as big as small moons. Others were just large enough to hide behind. "Contact, sir," Kim announced. 3 Vortanian destroyers are moving to investigate our position." "Perfect. Han, are you ready to jam their signals?" "Ready, Captain. All weapons target the lead destroyer. Fire when ready." The Indomitable's main guns blazed to life. Brilliant beams of energy lanced out from hiding places between the asteroids. The first Vortanian destroyer exploded before it could even send a distress signal. "Signal jam in place," Han reported. "The other 2 ships cannot communicate with their fleet." The second destroyer tried to turn and run, but Kim had already calculated its path. More energy beams struck the alien ship, tearing it apart. The third destroyer managed to get off a few shots at the Indomitable, but the human ship was already moving to a new position behind a different asteroid. The alien weapon beams struck. "Empty space. Target the engines," Lee ordered. "Disable that ship." The Indomitable's precise fire crippled the third destroyer. The alien ship drifted helplessly, its engines destroyed. "Captain, the civilian transports are making their escape run," the communications officer reported. Lee looked at his screens. Dozens of transport ships were fleeing from the planet, carrying thousands of human families to safety. The main Vortanian fleet was too far away to stop them. 6 more enemy ships approaching our position, Kim announced. "Same plan. Hit them fast and move to a new hiding spot." For the next hour, the Indomitable played a deadly game of hide-and-seek among the asteroids. The human ship would appear, destroy 1 or 2 enemy vessels, then disappear again before the Vortanians could respond. Choi pushed the engines harder with each maneuver. The ship twisted and turned between massive rocks at speeds that should have been impossible for a battleship. Han perfected her jamming techniques. Soon she could block Vortanian communication so completely that their ships were fighting blind and deaf. Kim calculated each attack with mathematical precision. Her tactical plans were so accurate that the Indomitable never missed a target. But Lee knew this could not last forever. Each time they attacked, more enemy ships came looking for them. The asteroid field was getting crowded with angry aliens. "Captain, I have bad news," Kim said after their latest attack. "The main Vortanian fleet just arrived in the system. I count 273 additional ships." Lee felt his heart sink. More than 300 enemy ships were now in the Kepler system. Even with their hit-and-run tactics, the Indomitable could not fight them all. "Sir, incoming priority message from the planet," the communications officer said. Governor Pak appeared on the screen again. This time he looked desperate. "Captain, the Vortanian fleet is preparing for full planetary bombardment. They are going to destroy every city on Kepler colony." "How much more time do you need?" Lee asked. "Dr. Yang says 8 more hours. But Captain, there are still over 1 million people on the planet." Lee looked at his crew. They had already accomplished more than anyone thought possible. They had destroyed 15 enemy ships and helped save 400,000 civilians. No one could ask for more. But Lee saw the determination in their eyes. These people were not ready to give up. "Governor, keep working on that research," Lee said. "We will buy you the time you need." He turned to his crew. "The real battle starts now." The main Vortanian fleet spread across the Kepler system like a plague of metal locusts. Captain Lee Hyun watched from his hiding spot behind a massive asteroid as hundreds of enemy ships took positions around the planet. "Captain, they are organizing into attack formations," Commander Kim Yuna reported. "I count 12 battle groups. Each group has enough firepower to destroy a major city." Lee felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. 1 million people were still on Kepler colony. Men, women, children who were counting on his ship to protect them. "Sir, the enemy commander is trying to communicate with us," the communications officer said. "Put him on screen." A large alien appeared on the display. His skin was dark purple and covered with scales. His eyes glowed red with anger. This was Admiral Thexmore, commander of the Vortanian Third Fleet. "Human vessel," the alien spoke in heavily accented English. "You have destroyed 15 of my ships. This ends now. Surrender and I will give your crew a quick death." Lee stood up and faced the screen. "Admiral Thexmore, I am Captain Lee Hyun of the United Earth ship Indomitable. I have a different offer for you. Leave this system now, and I will let some of your ships survive." The alien admiral roared with laughter. "One ship against my entire fleet. You humans are even more foolish than I thought. We will see about that," Lee replied calmly. The screen went dark. Admiral Thexmore had ended the communication. "Kim, what is the enemy doing now?" Lee asked. "They are moving into bombardment positions. It looks like they plan to destroy the planet's surface completely." Lee knew he had to act fast. If the Vortanians started their bombardment, nothing could save the people on Kepler colony. "All stations battle alert," Lee announced over the ship's communication system. "This is what we came here to do." The Indomitable burst from behind, the asteroid like an angry hornet leaving its nest. The ship's engines blazed at maximum power as it raced toward the nearest enemy battle group. "Target the lead cruiser," Lee ordered. The ship's main guns fired in perfect sequence. Energy beams struck the Vortanian cruiser's shields, causing them to flicker and spark. "Direct hit, but their shields are still holding," Kim reported. "Keep firing. Choi, give me more power to the weapons." Lieutenant Commander Choi Daeho's voice came over the intercom from the engine room. "Captain, I am pushing the reactors to 110%. We cannot maintain this for long." The Indomitable's weapons fired again and again. Finally, the enemy cruiser's shields collapsed and the ship exploded in a ball of flame. But now the entire Vortanian battle group was turning to face them. 6 ships against 1. Evasive maneuvers, Lee ordered. The Indomitable twisted and spun as enemy weapons fired at it from all directions. Energy beams and missiles filled the space around the human ship. "Shields at 70%, Kim reported as another enemy shot struck home. "Captain, I have an idea," Dr. Hansora called from her science station. "I have been studying the weapon signatures from the destroyed Vortanian ships. I think I found something important." "What is it, Han?" "Their shield generators operate on a specific frequency. If we could match that frequency with our weapons, we might be able to punch right through their defenses." Lee felt hope surge through his chest. "Can you do it?" "I need 2 minutes to recalibrate our weapon systems." "You have it. Kim, keep us alive for 2 minutes." The next 2 minutes felt like 2 hours. The Indomitable dodged and weaved through space as 6 enemy ships tried to destroy it. Commander Kim used every trick she knew to keep the ship out of danger. "Hull breach on Deck 7, Damage Control reported. "Emergency teams responding." "Shields down to 40%, Kim announced. "Han, how much longer?" Lee asked. "Almost done, Captain. Just a few more seconds." An enemy missile struck the Indomitable's port side. The ship shook violently and sparks flew from several control panels. "Weapon recalibration complete," Han announced. "All guns are now set to the Vortanian shield frequency." "Fire all weapons," Lee ordered. The Indomitable's guns blazed again, but this time something amazing happened. The energy beams passed right through the enemy shields as if they were not there. The first Vortanian destroyer exploded instantly. "It worked," Kim shouted with excitement. "Their shields cannot stop us anymore." The second enemy ship tried to run, but the Indomitable was faster. Lee's crew destroyed it before it could escape. Within minutes, all 6 ships in the enemy battle group were floating debris. "Captain, the other Vortanian battle groups are changing course," Kim reported. "They are all heading toward us." Lee looked at his tactical display. 11 enemy battle groups were converging on his position. That was more than 60 ships coming to destroy the Indomitable. "Sir, incoming message from Kepler Colony," the communications officer said. Governor Pack appeared on the screen. His face was covered with sweat and dirt, but he was smiling. "Captain, Dr. Yang has made a breakthrough with the quantum drive research. She says she can finish in 4 hours instead of 8. "That is good news, Governor. Keep working." "Captain, there is something else. Word about your battle is spreading through the underground communication networks. Human colonies across the galaxy are hearing about what you are doing here." Lee was surprised. "What do you mean?" "Resistance groups on occupied worlds are starting to fight back. They are inspired by your example. You are showing them that humans do not give up." The screen went dark. Lee felt a strange mix of pride and fear. He was happy that other humans were finding courage, but he knew his ship might not survive the next few hours. "Captain, the enemy fleets will reach us in 10 minutes, Kim warned. "Choi, how are our engines holding up?" Lee asked. "The reactors are running hot, but they will keep going. The ship is ready for anything you need, Captain." "Han, are there any other weaknesses in Vortanian technology that we can exploit?" Dr. Han was working frantically at her station. "Captain, I think I found something else. Their command ships use a different communication system than their regular vessels. If I could jam those specific frequencies, their fleet coordination would collapse." "Can you identify which ships are the command vessels?" "Yes, sir, they are. The largest ships in each battle group. Usually the ones in the center of their formations." Lee studied his tactical display. He could see the command ships Han was talking about. They were huge vessels, much bigger than anything else in the Vortanian fleet. "Kim, plot attack courses to the enemy command ships. We are going to cut off the head of the snake." "Sir, those ships are heavily defended. We would have to fight through their entire escort fleet to reach them." "Then that is what we will do." The first enemy battle group reached the Indomitable, 12 ships against 1. The odds were terrible, but Lee's crew had already proven that impossible odds meant nothing to determined humans. "All weapons target the escort ships first. Clear a path to their command vessel." The space battle that followed was unlike anything Lee had ever experienced. The Indomitable flew straight into the heart of the enemy formation, guns blazing. Han's shield frequency discovery allowed them to destroy enemy ships with frightening efficiency. But the Vortanians were not helpless. Their return fire hammered the human ship. Explosions rocked the bridge as enemy shots found their mark. Shields down to 20%, Kim reported through the chaos. Direct hit to the engine room, damage control announced. Minor damage, but we are losing some power. Keep fighting, Lee ordered. We are almost through to their command ship. The last escort vessel exploded, leaving the Vortanian command cruiser exposed. The huge alien ship tried to turn and run, but it was too slow. Fire everything we have, Lee commanded. The Indomitable's weapons struck the enemy command ship again, and again. Finally, the massive vessel broke apart and died. Command ship destroyed, Kim announced. The rest of their battle group is scattering. But Lee could see 10 more enemy battle groups still approaching. The real fight was just beginning. 4 hours had passed since the battle began. The UES Indomitable looked like it had been through a war. Burn marks covered the hull. Several weapon systems were damaged. The ship's shields flickered weakly as they tried to regenerate power. Captain Lee Hyun sat in his command chair, watching the tactical display. His crew had destroyed 43 enemy ships, but there were still more than 200 Vortanian vessels in the system. Worse, his ship was running out of ammunition and power. Captain, incoming priority transmission from Earth Command, the communications officer announced. Admiral Park Min-ho appeared on the screen. Behind him, Lee could see the busy command center on Earth. Officers were running between stations, and warning lights flashed red. Lee, I have good news and bad. News? The Admiral said. The good news is that the entire Earth Defense Fleet is coming to help you. We have 60 ships heading toward Kepler Colony at maximum speed. What is the bad news? Lee asked, though he already suspected the answer. They will not arrive for another 18 hours. Can you hold out that long? Lee looked around his damaged bridge. Commander Kim Yuna had a bandage on her forehead from when a control panel exploded. Lieutenant Commander Choi Daeho had burns on his hands from emergency repairs in the engine room. Dr. Han Sora was still working at her station, but she looked exhausted. Admiral, we will do our best, Lee replied. How much longer does Dr. Yang need to finish the quantum drive research? She says 2 more hours. If you can protect the colony for 2 more hours, we can transmit all the research data to Earth. That technology could change the entire war. The screen went dark. Lee turned to his crew. These brave people had already done the impossible. They had fought for 4 hours against overwhelming odds, and were still alive. Kim, what is our current situation? Lee asked. We have destroyed 4 enemy command ships. That has caused major confusion in their fleet. But Admiral Thexmore is reorganizing his remaining forces. I count 8 battle groups still operational. How many ships is that? About 90 vessels, sir. And they are all converging on our position. Lee felt the weight of the moment. 90 enemy ships against his single damaged battleship. His crew was tired, his weapons were running low on power, and his ship could not take much more punishment. Captain, I have been working on something, Dr. Han said from her science station. Remember how I discovered the shield frequency weakness? Well, I have been studying the quantum torpedoes in our armory. Lee was interested. The quantum torpedoes were experimental weapons that had never been used in actual combat. They were designed to phase through normal matter and explode inside enemy ships. What did you find, Han? I think I can modify the torpedoes to use the same frequency principles. If it works, they could phase through enemy hulls and detonate inside their most critical systems. How many torpedoes do we have? 12, sir. But there is a problem. The modifications are very complex. I would need at least 30 minutes to reprogram each torpedo. Lee did quick math in his head. 30 minutes per torpedo meant 6 hours to modify all 12. They did not have that much time. How long to modify just 4 torpedoes? He asked. 2 hours, sir. Do it. We need every advantage we can get. The next hour was the longest of Lee's life. The Indomitable continued its deadly dance with the Vortanian fleet. His crew used hit-and-run tactics, striking fast and then hiding behind asteroids. But the enemy was learning. They were coordinating better and setting traps. Hull breach on Deck 12, damage control reported. Emergency team sealing the breach now. Main engines at 60% power, Choi announced over the intercom. I am doing everything I can, but we have taken a lot of damage. Weapon System 3 is offline, Kim reported. We are down to 70% firepower. Lee knew his ship was dying slowly. Each enemy attack weakened them further. They needed something to change the situation quickly. Captain, Admiral Thexmore, is trying to communicate with us again, the communications officer said. Put him on screen. The angry alien appeared on the display. His red eyes blazed with fury. Human Captain, you have cost me 50 ships and countless lives. My patience is at an end. Surrender now or I will order the complete destruction of your vessel. Admiral, I told you before, leave this system and some of your ships might survive. You are insane. Look around you. Your ship is damaged and outnumbered. You cannot possibly win. Lee smiled. Admiral, you made one big mistake when you came to this system. What mistake? You assumed that humans fight the same way as other species. You thought we would run when faced with impossible odds. Thexmore snarled. Your bravery will not save you. I have 90 ships. You have one. Yes. But my one ship is crewed by humans. And humans never give up. Lee cut the communication. He turned to his crew and saw determination in their eyes. These people had faced death for hours and were still ready to fight. Captain, I have finished modifying the first quantum torpedo, Han announced. I am starting work on the second one now. Good work, Han. Kim, I want you to identify the most important target in the enemy fleet. Kim studied her tactical display. Admiral Thexmore's flagship, the Void Crusher. It is a massive dreadnought at the center of their formation. If we could destroy it, their entire fleet would lose coordination. Lee looked at the display. The Void Crusher was enormous. It was 3 times the size of any other ship in the Vortanian fleet. Destroying it would be like cutting off the head of a giant monster. How well is it defended? Lee asked. Very well, sir. It has at least 20 escort ships around it at all times. Plus its own weapons are extremely powerful. Han, would our modified quantum torpedoes be able to penetrate its hull? Yes, sir. If I can program them correctly, they should phase right through the armor and explode inside the ship's reactor core. Lee felt a plan forming in his mind. It was incredibly dangerous and required perfect timing, but it might be their only chance. To win this battle, here is what we are going to do, Lee announced to his crew. We are going to attack the Void Crusher directly. One final assault that will either win this battle or end it. Captain, that is suicide, Kim protested. We would have to fight through their entire escort fleet. Then we fight through their escort fleet, Lee replied calmly. Han, how long until all 4 modified torpedoes are ready? 1 more hour, sir. Perfect. That gives us time to prepare. For our final attack. Lee looked out at the stars through the bridge windows. Somewhere out there, the Earth Defense Fleet was racing to help them. But they would arrive too late. This battle would be won or lost in the next 2 hours. He turned back to his crew. Everyone, this is our moment. We came here to protect innocent people and to save research that could help humanity win this war. Now we have a chance to do both. The bridge was quiet except for the hum of damaged systems and the distant sound of repair crews working throughout the ship. Are you ready to make one final run? Lee asked. One by one, his crew members nodded. Kim, Choi, Han, and all the others. 800 brave humans who were ready to risk everything for strangers they would never meet. Then let us show these aliens what humans are really capable of. 1 hour later, Dr. Hans Sora finished programming the last quantum torpedo. Her hands were shaking from exhaustion, but her voice was steady when she spoke. Captain, all 4 modified torpedoes are ready. They are programmed to phase through the enemy hull and detonate inside their reactor cores. Captain Lee Hyun stood up from his command chair. Around him, his bridge crew prepared for what would likely be their final battle. The Indomitable had been fighting for 5 hours straight. The ship was damaged, low on power, and surrounded by enemies. Kim, plot a direct course to the Void Crusher, Lee ordered. Commander Kim Yuna looked up from her tactical station. Sir, Admiral Thexmore has positioned 20 escort ships around his flagship. We will have to fight through all of them to reach our target. Then that is what we will do. Choi, I need everything you can give me from the engines. Lieutenant, Commander Choi Daeho's voice came over the intercom from the engine room. Captain, I have been saving some power for this moment. I can give you 120% engine power for 30 minutes. After that, the reactors will need time to cool down. 30 minutes should be enough, Lee replied. Either we win this battle in 30 minutes or we lose it. Lee activated the ship-wide communication system. His voice echoed through every corridor and room on the Indomitable. Attention all crew members. This is your captain speaking. For 5 hours we have fought against impossible odds. We have protected innocent civilians and bought time for critical research. Now we have one final mission. He paused, thinking about the 800 brave people serving on his ship. We are going to attack the enemy flagship directly. This is a dangerous mission, and some of us may not survive. But if we succeed, we will save Kepler Colony and help humanity win this war. I am proud to serve with each and every one of you. Lee closed the communication channel and turned to his crew. Are you ready? Ready, sir, Kim replied for all of them. Then let us begin our final attack. All ahead full. The Indomitable burst from behind its asteroid hiding place like a comet of pure determination. The ship's engines blazed at maximum power as it raced toward the center of the Vortanian fleet. Enemy ships are moving to intercept us, Kim reported. Multiple contacts on all sides. Fire at will. Clear us a path to the flagship. The space around the Indomitable erupted in weapons fire. Human energy beams struck enemy ships while alien missiles streaked toward the human vessel. The battle was chaos, but Lee's crew fought with perfect coordination. Direct hit on enemy destroyer, Kim announced. Target destroyed. Hull breach on Deck 9, damage control reported. Emergency teams responding. Shields down to 30%, the weapons officer called out. The Indomitable pushed deeper into the enemy formation. Every few seconds, another alien ship exploded under the precise fire of the human weapons. But the enemy was fighting back hard. More hull breaches appeared across the ship. Captain, we are taking heavy damage, Kim warned. I do not know how much more the ship can take. We just need to reach the Void Crusher, Lee replied. How much farther? 2 minutes at current speed, sir. 2 minutes felt like an eternity. The Indomitable shook under repeated enemy hits. Sparks flew from damaged control panels. The lights flickered as power systems struggled to keep working. Main weapons offline, the weapons officer reported. Switching to secondary guns. Engine power down to 90%, Choi announced. We have multiple coolant leaks, but the engines are still running. Finally, the massive bulk of the Void Crusher appeared ahead of them. The enemy flagship was enormous, bristling with weapons and armor. It looked like a floating fortress designed to destroy entire fleets. Han, are you ready with the torpedoes? Lee asked. Ready, Captain. Targeting the ship's reactor sections. Now. Fire all 4 torpedoes. The modified quantum torpedoes launched from the Indomitable. Unlike normal weapons, these torpedoes seemed to flicker and fade as they flew toward their target. They passed right through the Void Crusher's thick armor as if it was made of air. For a moment, nothing happened. Lee held his breath, wondering if the experimental weapons had worked. Then the enemy flagship began to shake. Small explosions appeared along its hull as the internal detonations started chain reactions. The massive ship's lights flickered and went out. Direct hits on all targets, Han reported with excitement. The enemy reactor cores are going critical. Admiral Thexmore's face appeared on the communication screen one last time. Behind him, Lee could see smoke and sparks filling the alien bridge. Impossible, the alien admiral snarled. You cannot defeat my entire fleet with one ship. Admiral, you still do not understand, Lee replied calmly. This is not about one ship. This is about the human spirit. We fight for our families, our homes, and our future. You fight only for conquest. The communication cut off as the Void Crusher's power systems failed completely. The massive dreadnought broke apart in a series of spectacular explosions. Debris scattered across space as the most powerful ship in the Vortanian fleet died. Enemy flagship destroyed, Kim announced. The escort ships are breaking formation. Lee watched his tactical display as the remaining Vortanian ships began to retreat. Without their command ship and their admiral, the alien fleet had lost all coordination. Ships that had fought together for hours were now fleeing in different directions. "Captain, incoming message from Kepler Colony," the communications officer said. Governor Pak Jinho appeared on the screen. His face was covered with tears of joy. "Captain Lee, you did it. The enemy fleet is retreating. Dr. Yang has just finished transmitting all the quantum drive research to Earth Command." Lee felt a wave of relief wash over him. They had done it. Against impossible odds, his crew had saved 2 million people and preserved technology that could change the course of the war. "Captain, long-range sensors are detecting new contacts," Kim announced. "Multiple ships approaching from the direction of Earth." The tactical display showed 60 new ships entering the Kepler system. These were human vessels flying in perfect formation. The Earth Defense Fleet had arrived. Admiral Park Minho's face appeared on the communication screen. Behind him, Lee could see the bridge of a modern Earth battleship. "Lee, what is your status?" the Admiral asked. "Mission accomplished, sir. Kepler Colony is secure and the research data has been transmitted to Earth." Admiral Park smiled broadly. "Lee, when I gave you this mission, I never expected you to actually win. You and your crew have accomplished something that will be remembered for generations." Lee looked around his damaged bridge. His crew was exhausted, injured, and covered with smoke and dirt. But they were alive and they had won. "Admiral, we were just doing our duty," Lee replied. "No, Lee. You did much more than that. Reports are coming in from across human space. Your battle has inspired resistance movements on dozens of occupied worlds. The aliens are facing uprisings everywhere." Over the next few hours, the full scope of their victory became clear. The Indomitable had destroyed over 60 enemy ships, including Admiral Thexmore's flagship. The remaining Vortanian fleet had retreated in complete disorder. More importantly, the quantum drive research was now safely in Earth's hands. Human ships would soon be able to travel across the galaxy in minutes instead of months. The balance of power in the war had shifted dramatically. But perhaps most significant of all was the legend that had been born. Across human space, people told the story of the single battleship that had defied an entire alien fleet. The tale inspired courage in the hearts of humans everywhere. Captain Lee Hyun and the crew of the UES Indomitable had proven that sometimes one ship crewed by determined humans could indeed change the course of history. They had shown that the human spirit, when tested by impossible odds, would never break. The Vortanian Empire would never again underestimate humanity, and humans would never again doubt that they could overcome any challenge, no matter how impossible it seemed. The legend of the Indomitable had begun.